One quick note about the audio quality on this week's episode. My audio recording failed during recording, therefore my audio quality isn't up to our usual standard. We apologize, and this will be fixed for our next episode. Previously, on our Telltale's The Walking Dead series. You play as Lee in the game, and you start the game in the back of a cop car. The game takes place in Georgia, so essentially you are being taken to prison by an officer when the madness begins.
And then the sole survivor is a 10-year-old girl who's like, I figured out I'll just stay in the attic, in my treehouse, have enough food, have enough water, be able to take care of myself.
There's a fence, and then, imagine that on your right is Duck, who's sitting on top of the tractor, and then Herschel's son Sean, who is maybe near the fence. And what happens very quickly is zombies end up approaching because, of course, it is a Walking Dead game. And very quickly, you're given the choice of who are you going to save first. You end up going to the Everett Pharmacy in town, and you end up meeting a series of new characters again.
He's just back at his family pharmacy. His brain's probably spinning. Like, I grew up here, I walked here when I was a kid. And then, like, that one scene where you see his brother who's become a walker outside of the pharmacy.
You've allowed a bunch of walkers into the pharmacy itself, and that is when you are faced with the biggest decision of the entire game that forks the story for you in a major way for future episodes. Two of your characters, Carly and Doug, as we mentioned before, are taken by walkers at the same time, and much like the first sequence in this game where you have to choose between Duck and Sean, you again have to choose, am I going to help Doug first or am I going to help Carly first? Welcome to episode 107 of the Left Behind Game Club. This week we play Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 2. Let's get right into it. You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Jacob McCord, and today I have two friends with me. The first friend, you know him, you love him. His name is Mo Murtati.
Hey, guys.
And our second friend, back for the second time on the podcast to talk about Episode 2 of The Walking Dead, is Cam Hawkins from DualShockers.com. He is a writer. He is a podcaster. He is a multi-talented fellow, and we're so happy to have you back. Welcome back. Woo!
Thank you. You're too kind. Thanks for, inviting me on and having me be a part of this.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. For folks who don't know your work, if, they somehow forgot between now and the last episode, let people know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, so I write over at DualShockers.com, and I've also been featured on IGN, GameSpot, Inside Gaming, Kind of Funny Games Daily, Spot on Me. And I also stream on Twitch from time to time. And that's a little bit about me. Just a guy who loves the video games and loves to talk about them.
And you also love Telltale's The Walking Dead. Again, we are jumping into episode 2 here. So if you're picking this episode up and you have not listened to episode 1, which is episode 105, go back to that one, start there, and then come back to this one when you're ready. Gentlemen, before we get into what happened in episode 2, just remind me, where did we leave off when we stopped playing episode 1?
So basically what happened was, it's just kind of like a recap of the first episode, quick recap. Lee, who is this guy who's being sent to prison for, which you find later is like a murder, basically finds this little girl named Clementine who is hiding in her treehouse once this whole zombie apocalypse starts, and they end up surviving together, and eventually, they end up meeting people, and eventually they go to the pharmacy where Lee's family worked and owned, and then they end up ending the episode in a motel where they decide to kind of make it a home base of sorts going into episode 2.
Yeah, that's a perfect recap of episode 1. And where the episode starts is in the area surrounding the Motor Inn, where the game opens up and you are kind of right behind a walker about to kill it, and that's where you're introduced to, you know, some of the new characters that you're going to be interacting with, principally Mark, who is a very important part of this episode. You're given a couple choices, and I think the first real big set of events that happen is you come upon a group of students. Now, you know, I've played this many times before, and I'm going to give you my very short review really quickly. I think that this is like this episode is one of the best pieces of Walking Dead intellectual property out there, period.
I agree.
So what did you guys think when you came up on that group of students?
Oh yeah, so you know, I've played The Walking Dead as well. This is my third time playing through it. So it's one of those things where I kind of wish you could choose whether or not you wanted to, because you know, the teacher with the two students, Travis and Ben, gets his legs caught in a bear trap, and you know, they find out that it's like a rigged trap, so there's no way to like disarm it. So this dude's basically like bleeding out with his leg caught in this trap, and you basically are somewhat, you know, narratively forced to chop this dude's leg off with an axe. And you know, at first, like it's really interesting because like Kenny, particularly, like because you're out with Kenny hunting, Mark and Kenny, and you basically find Kenny is like very much against the idea of like trying to help these people and bring them back to like your home base and stuff like that, but you still do it anyway. And then Travis ends up getting overwhelmed by walkers as well. So basically, it's just Ben and the teacher, who is basically out cold from losing blood from the dismemberment or just.
Yeah, it was funny when I played this episode, I think a month ago, so the whole episode wasn't as fresh. So when I was talking to Jacob before the call, I was reading his like footnotes. We're going to talk about the chopped off leg. I'm like, what chopped off leg? And then I was like, oh, that. So the funny thing about that, even like interaction in there, is like I don't know if it was my version. Maybe I missed the strike with the axe to chop off the guy's leg, but I felt like there was like 2 additional chops where it's like, okay, are we still doing this? This is just like an extra, like, we'll remember this forever. You'll see this every time you blink kind of thing. Yeah. So it was very like extra, like you're gonna be here. It's not over. Keep chopping. Not broken yet. Wow.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s when I played this, but I still remembered, and it's kind of a thing with these Telltale games, is because of the art style, it kind of sneaks up on you that, you know, you think you're going to get one story that maybe is a little spooky, like teen version spooky, but this is like rated M. I can see the tendrils, like the muscle and the bone being chopped away. So it sounds like, from the sound of it, all of y'all, or at least Cam and I, chopped off his leg. Mo, did you just leave him to die?
No, I definitely chopped off the leg. It just seemed like it was just. I think Cam mentioned it. It was very like pressured for you to do that.
Yeah, you can't choose. You have to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. So there's no option to like.
Yeah, there's no option
on, right?
to like no matter what you do, you're gonna have to chop off this dude's leg.
Yeah.
Now, is it true though that if you are forced to do it, but if you take too long, then you have to leave him? Is that how that works?
I don't think so. I didn't try that out, but I think it's either you chop off his leg or you're gonna get overwhelmed by walkers yourself and die.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think that you absolutely like are forced to do it, but the first choice that you're given is kind of that chop his leg off or not. And like, again, The Walking Dead, Telltale have said, like, if our choice is 50-50, then like we've done our job. And according to my Xbox playthrough, it is like 43% of people like chopped his leg off, but the other 57% of people didn't. So I think you're 100% right, Cam, that like you are forced to do it, but if you take too long, you run away.
Okay, that's interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And again, that's what I thought it was, but let me check that, because I don't want to leave that.
Yeah, because I wish it was. Yeah, I wish it was more clear in that, and then they just, instead of like having you start doing it, like just either hey, you're doing it or you're not doing it.
My favorite thing is how, like, we already had, like, in episode 1, the moment where it's like, no more people are joining the club. We have no more resources. Like, we can't get any more mouths to feed. And the first thing you do here is, more mouths to feed. Come on board. We can take care of you. Definitely because of the trauma and the situation. That's what they did. But it was just so funny thinking, like, all right, now we're heading back to the crew with more people. Yikes. We're going to get chewed out.
Yeah, I think...
Yeah, and so there's 3 months that have passed between episodes 1 and 2. So once you get through that really stressful situation, you make it back to the motor inn. And at this point, it's like a very, I don't want to say chill part of the episode, but the pacing is very different in that, unlike the first part of the episode, you are kind of in a situation where you have to give out food to everyone, right? So you've got Duck, you've got Clementine, you've got Katja, Lily, Mark, Larry to take care of, but you only have a limited amount of food.
Yeah.
Remind the folks as well who you ended up choosing between Doug and Carly, but I'd also love to know who you gave food to and kind of what your methodology was.
I kept Carly alive and I left Doug. Primarily, I think I explained in the last episode, it was because I wanted to, like, have, like, a friend, like a person that knows my secret. I want to prove to them I, like, turned a new leaf kind of thing as well. That was another aspect as to why I kept her alive. And for the food, I don't know if it was like, I went to the kids first, was like the priority, because, like, I didn't think they would, like, be eating that much anyway. And then I wanted to give Kenny, the dad, food too, because I needed him, like, on my side. He seemed, like, on edge. But when I gave it to him, he's like, the first thing he says was, "Did Duck eat?" And I was like, okay, I saved this last piece of bit of food for you, but I'll give it to Duck if that's, like, my assumption was if I gave it to him, he'd give it to, like, his wife and Duck as well. But I wanted, like, that gesture to show him, like, hey, I'm on your side still, kind of thing. So I fed everyone, all the kids, and I think I tried giving Carly food, but she didn't want to take it either.
Okay, that's actually...
Yeah, so just to let you guys know where I was at.
I was actually going to say, just before I forget, like, that's interesting, because I saved Doug this time around, because I never saved Doug in my first 2 playthroughs, and I wanted to know his character more. And I did the same thing. He was one of the people... technically, he was plan B, if any of the, like, in my situation. Yeah. He was like a follow-up of the 4 I was going to feed. And then he refused it, so as well, because he, like, felt like bad that he was saved over Carly and stuff like that. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember why Carly refused it the first time, or, like, in that situation, but that's why Doug refused it for me.
Yeah, it's probably something similar. They probably have similar rejections. It's just with a different voice actor to explain their unique situation. Did we get forced to feed the big guy, the big old man?
No.
Okay.
You mean the angry old racist?
Larry?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh no, go ahead. You're okay.
No, I was just gonna say. So with my choices, I was all about self-preservation, and then, like, all about the power dynamics in the group. So for me, like, I was a little soft, so I fed the kids first, and then you have 4 pieces of food total. So I gave 1 piece of food to Kenny because I wanted one ally who was, like, really close and that would trust me, and then I gave food to myself because I'm a selfish jerk.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cam, did you feed yourself or no?
I did not feed myself. So what I did was I fed the kids, and when I mean kids, I mean Duck, Clementine, and Ben, because Ben is a kid. In my opinion, he's a student. He's a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I don't remember how old Ben is. I don't know if he's in, like, high school or college. And, so, like, when I say a student is a kid, I mean that if you're, like, in high school below. But regardless, like, he was young and he was a kid, and to me, so I fed him, and then I was going to feed Kat. But she was working on the teacher, and she was just like, yeah, I can't, I'm not going to eat that right now. And then I was going to give it to Doug, then Doug refused. Then I ended up giving the food to Mark. Okay,
so you were kind of staying close to Mark in this instance.
Yeah, because I like Mark, and if I could have fed Kat, like, I would have fed her too, but like, at the very least, he knows that I was taking care of his family. Then I was just like, okay, I'm going to take care of someone else.
Yeah,
that isn't Kenny.
At least he knows. He got like the brownie points.
Yeah, like he did say, Kenny, like, remember that you took care of his family, like that type of thing.
Mm.
the classic Telltale will remember this kind of mechanic that is prevalent in all of their games. So again, you're totally whiplashed from there, where you're having this really nice moment where you have to help people stay well fed and be the man who decides who gets fed and who doesn't get fed that day. And Katja kind of screams, or there's a commotion over where Katja is, and the problem is that at least in our cases, because we were the ones that brought a teacher back, leg half gone, bleeding out, he's died, he reanimates as a walker. And that's a point in the back of the truck where you have to save Katja and make sure she doesn't get eaten alive, which I didn't remember this part.
Neither did I.
One, it scared the crap out of me, and two, like, what a badass sequence.
Yeah, neither did I, and it took me just when you're just like this late on reacting to something, that was me. I was just like, oh, she's being grabbed right now by the teacher. So yeah, that was a really that I agree. That was a very intense segment for sure. I agree.
So y'all kill them. Y'all kill the zombie, and things finally settle down. And that's when soon after that, you meet two of the very important characters from this episode, Andy and Dan St. John, who are two, you find out, dairy farmers who are looking for gas. And I don't know about you guys, but when I saw them coming, I immediately was put on the defensive. I was like, yeah, I don't know these guys. I don't know what's going on with them. Like, do we have to talk to them? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, like, they have that voice and tone, like they're directed to sound shady, but also mix in a little bit of Southern hospitality, so you're not too sure. Like, they could be really nice, but the way they're saying things, you're like, you're either really nice or you're gonna murder me. And we're dealing with zombies, so that was my first thing. I'm like, all right, defense is up, just like you, Jacob. But they've done nothing yet to like make me suspect anything. But their tone and the way they say things, it's like, hey, stranger, we're looking to trade some stuff. How many people you got over there? It's like, that's not a question or answer for you, but and I kept deferring those like questions where they kept trying to probe, like, you guys have a lot of people over there, and my answers are always like, we've got enough to protect ourselves, and stuff like that. But they're very proby, like trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and just rewinding just a bit too, I think important factors of this episode that that we should bring up before we move any further is there's like this kind of Kenny and Lily kind of butting heads as to like who's the leader of this group, or if there's even a leader of this group, and things like that, which is why you're like forced to, or like told, oh, why don't you choose who gets to eat, because Lily was in that position of like who, like she was in charge of who gets to eat when and all that stuff. Another thing that's important is that Clementine's hat is missing.
Yes.
The first time you see Clementine, she has no hat, and then you ask her where her hat is, and she says that she has no idea.
That threw me off. I'm like, man, like, what do you mean? Like, why is it not on your head? It's your cartoon character. Don't take that stuff off.
And it's like, because I think that this single episode, like, as a whole episode, is probably the best episode in the entire season. But that is one thing, I'm not going to go into spoilers yet, but like that is one thing that I feel like wasn't explained super well. Like, you get the answer as to like who has the hat or who had the hat, but you never find out like how, even though they do like give some information. There's like just no, like, I don't think there was enough information to even like theorize like exactly how they could have gotten the hat, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I for me, with some of the games we play on the podcast, like, I'll sometimes not just pay attention to like these little tidbits. And with the hat thing, I did, when they said it was missing, my initial sense was like, okay, how, what, where? And you're right. There's no real, like, until you find out like where it is, there's no there's no direction that they point you in. Like, there's nothing. It's just hat's gone and you didn't know about it, and why does it matter? You don't know. And it's just like a thorn in your side kind of thing that is not really a thorn in your side, but they're trying to push it as it is. Like, there's something weird here.
Yeah, it's just like they give some information as to how Clementine's hat got from her to where, spoilers, Lee ends up finding it, but that still doesn't make sense. Like, there's still something that seems realistic, but also like that makes sense as to how she still got the hat, or how that person still got the hat. Is like my one like issue with this episode as a whole.
They set up some really great narrative threads, as you said, that in most cases they like slam dunk, but that's one where they could have easily like had that thread pay off a little more, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing both the group stuff up, which is very important, but also like Clementine's hat, which arguably up to this point is like her defining character feature.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't be. She's a character that gets well developed over time, but at this point, you know, we're only 2 hours in. So, Mo, you were talking about the St. John's and how you were immediately kind of put off by them. I was kind of feeling the same way. You know, you got 2 Canadians on this call that may not understand, you know, Southern hospitality. But Cam, what did you think of these 2 gentlemen when they approached the camp?
Yeah, like originally I was just like, nah, dude, like I'm gonna stick with the people that I trust. Like, even if this, like, no, I wouldn't even say that, because technically, like, Larry did leave you for dead in the first episode. But, like, you know, I trust these people way more than I'm gonna trust any strangers. Like, I'll trust this racist more than I trust, like, some random stranger. You know what I mean? So, but, and even, because it's weird, because, like, kind of like the good, or, like, the, like, you know, not the ish thing to do in this instance is to actually, like, hear them out and, like, go with them to this farm that they say that they have, where there's food and things like that. But then, because I don't know about you guys, but, like, I was just like, yo, we should not go. Everyone was, like, kind of like, oh, we should go. And I was like, no, we should not go, which was the first time I did that. And the way they, like, it's reacted is everyone basically votes. And if it's like unanimous, then, you know, like, Lee's just like, okay, yeah, we'll go, sure. But then, like, you know, you can also just be like, oh, yeah, let's go, and then everyone's like kind of cool with it.
Yeah, I think I went. Initially, the way I was talking to the guys was very like, we'll exchange stuff, but you can't come in. Like, well, I'll send a group with you, but not everyone kind of thing. It was a lot of like very like neutral, respective, like, you understand, I don't know you, you don't know me, so I will take a little bit of risk, but I want you to take a little bit of risk too by me coming with you to see where you live. So, like, it was very like that kind of dynamic. So I was very in the sense of I wanted to go because the state of the group is like, we have no food, we have no shelter, it's very like shady. These guys are walking up looking for gasoline and say they have food. So if they're looking for gasoline, they might have something that needs it, generator, vehicle, whatever it might be. This is not like a straggler running around kind of thing. They could either be a resource or like a potential friend or like community member, or they could eat our faces off. And I am 50-50 split in the middle, but I'm also 50-50 you might die tomorrow from a zombie, so you got to take some chances right now.
Yeah, I definitely got vetoed by the group, even though I was like, nah. So what ends up happening is Mark, Ben, and either Doug or Carly and yourself end up joining the 2 brothers to go to the dairy farm. And I think that as you're walking, you have a conversation with them. And as you're having that conversation, you run into bandits, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you run into a bandit that basically just like shoots up this random person, and then you end up running into a small little camp. And that's actually that's later on. But you end up going to the farm, and then you're kind of like, you find out that it's like powered, like electrically fenced by a generator, and that they have like cows, so they actually have like fresh dairy products, and they have fresh food and from vegetables that they grow and things like that. You end up meeting Andy and what's his name? Andy and
the 2 brothers,
Danny,
Andy and Dan.
Danny, yeah. Danny's mother, Brenda, and she's kind of like that, again, Southern hospitality type stereotypical mother. Is just like, oh, come on in now, like that type of thing. You're right at home here.
Yeah, I don't even know if she added to like my comfort or if she like creeped me out even more. just because it was very welcoming. Seeing the cows, seeing the vegetables, seeing all that set up, I'm like, this is a nice big operation. It's enough for me to keep like walking around trying to extend, but at the same time, it was very like they talked the exact same. She kind of talked the same way, where it was very like, "We'll get you fed, don't you worry, you can stay here," kind of thing. But it wasn't 100% believable.
For me, the first time I played this, like I was like completely coerced the entire time. She was just like, "Oh, okay, this place isn't so bad." Like.
Same.
Yeah, I was just like, this seems like a really nice place. Like, obviously, there's something here. There's something that's off. There's something wrong. But I had no idea what it possibly could have been. So, yeah, for me, she was like, it wasn't even 5%. It was 100% like, okay, I'm sold on this place. This place seems really
she's the
cool.
validation you needed.
Yeah, she was the validation I needed to be like, okay, this is a good spot. Like, we should bring everyone over here.
It's safe. Bring the whole crew. So what we learned. Sorry, Jacob.
A lot of my grandmother.
What we learned is essentially if it's me, you, and Cam surviving, if Cam is fully into like the next person coming in, we got to go the opposite of that direction.
If I'm like, oh, I trust this person, you're just like, oh, so we need to stay the fuck away.
This really nice grandma is offering us dairy and these beautiful breads, and obviously we're gonna tell Cam that we need to leave immediately. I was completely fooled as well. Mm-hmm. My grandmother it's funny, I'm gonna get real personal here. My grandmother was exactly like this, but like found out that like she was actually not a good person. So wow. Like this reminds me exactly of like my grandma, that like on the surface she is like super, super sweet, but then you find out like maybe not a great person. But I mean, sorry to get personal, guys, but that's where we're at.
So you're already suspicious now of the grandma or the mom in this situation. But regardless, I guess we're in a nice, safe farm. Food's available, and now we're thinking about bringing the whole crew, because you're right. Like you get that validation that like it's ready to. This is a safe place to be, and I think everyone as a group is like, okay, this is enough site or things around here for us to kind of move in and maybe see what we can do from here.
Yeah, so then like basically once you meet Brenda, and you're asked to help with one of the fences, because once the walkers end up like hitting the fence, they're just kind of hanging there. They might knock over the fence. There are some parts that need to be propped back up. So you and Mark go and do that, and then once you finish up, like mid-conversation, Mark is shot in the back with an arrow. And then you like hide behind this tractor to try and escape, and there are these bandits that are trying to kill them basically, and saying that we had a deal, you didn't like end up like give your share, so this is what you get. And they have Lee and Mark have no idea what's going on. And so they go back and they explain everything to Andy and Danny. And then Andy's like, well, let's go find these bandits and basically like explain ourselves or put them in their place type thing. And then Brenda, the mom, takes care of Mark and goes and he goes into the house.
I don't know about y'all, but I was like absolutely shocked, and I knew exactly where this is going, but like the immediacy and what happens in The Walking Dead a lot is situations change on the turn of a dime, and you're immediately like, if you're not paying attention, sometimes you will get screwed. 2 points here that really scared me and like really woke me up out of my like, I'm on this farm kind of stupor. But I kind of struggled a little bit with the tractor section, where like essentially you're trying to protect yourself from bandits who are, constantly shooting at you, and you have to like adjust this tractor and like pull up certain parts to make sure you can push it. I don't know about you guys, but it wasn't mechanically the easiest thing to do, but obviously like very serviceable. Maybe it was just that it was such a high pressure situation that I was like not shaking, but like on edge, and it made it that much more difficult to accomplish my task.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly it. Like it's designed in a way where the Telltale games usually mechanically are like comic booky style where your movement is limited. And you're right, it's kind of that your emotions are so heightened because you're out in the field, the fence is down, the guy got shot. So if your mechanics aren't buttery smooth, it's like, I can't get out of here. I think that might be it too. But you're right, it was a little janky, I guess, to move the tractor. But regardless, though, it was a high, intense, like, sense of moment, and I think it was delivered because you literally thought, okay, this guy got shot by an arrow. I'm next. I have nothing on. Like, I'm open. Like, I don't even know where it came from. People are yelling. I thought it was safe. That's I think it was a make sense of. It just needed to make you flustered, and I think it did that.
So Mark is injured. He's got an arrow in his back. Brenda is obviously like, "I've got you there, son." And that's when, that was a terrible accent. That's when everyone kind of joins them. You know, it's Kenny, it's Larry, it's Lily, it's Duck, Clementine. They arrive just as Mark's being, brought into Brenda's lair to bring him back to life. And so at that point, I think you say, hey, we're gonna chase after these people because we aren't gonna put up with the fact that they almost killed Mark.
Yeah, so you end up finding this camp, and it looks like to have fit like 2 people, and there's a bunch of like boxes from a store called Save-A-Lots Save-Lots. And you end up going into the tent and you find Clementine's hat. And then you're approached by this crazy looking woman named Jolene who has straight up gun pointing at Lee and says that like she knows about what Andy and his family does, but you don't really get to hear like really anything about that. And like, you kind of have this option to either kill her like straight away, or you can try and keep asking her questions about like, where'd you get Clementine's hat? Like, blah, 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 blah. There's a bunch of different questions you can ask. But if you ask too many questions, then Andy will shoot and kill her.
I think that's what happened with me, because I don't remember specifically deciding to like take her out, but I remember like I think I just kept asking. I was like, "Where'd you get the hat?" Like, blah blah blah. I think my character's getting angry too, and then the guy shot him. It's like, oh, I must have picked something that said shooter kind of thing, but it might have been that situation. Because I was confused when I saw my results at the end. It said you and 39% of players shot Jolene. I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I intended to do that, but okay, sure.
Mo, if it makes you feel any better, I was also part of that 39%. I think I was just like very concerned about this woman and was just like, I'm not going to take any chances. She is unhinged. Normally I wouldn't shoot someone who is challenging me, but we are in the post-apocalypse now, so this is what I must do. The one thing that I also wanted to state is that you notice that there are St. John's dairy boxes that are kind of mixed in with the Save-Lots boxes. So even if you didn't get information from Jolene, you can at least start to think that maybe something is going on here. They have Clementine's hat. They know about me. If they have the St. John's dairy boxes, they obviously have had some interactions. There's something going on here. And if you don't know what it is, you'll find out really quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely like this game made you feel safe and then not safe immediately after. You never get to like enjoy your comfort. You always have to be on edge expecting like something is about to happen. And I think it's paced pretty well too. Like every new scene, it's like everything's tense. You think it's fine, and then it just smacks you in the head with something weird, like a shot in the back or chopping off a guy's leg off, or a police officer chasing you down after he's trying to. Like it's just this game so far has been like stay calm, it's okay. Then oh my god, okay, then something dies.
And each of these episodes is only 2 hours long, but I don't know if you felt this way, but in episode 2, I felt like there was like 4 hours of content here, just jammed in. Like this is jam-packed to the surface with stuff to do, scenes to move between, and pacing. Like whether you're at the motel, you're at the dairy, there is a scene that is, high tension, low tension, high tension, and that just continues all the way through.
I think Cam touched on it. When Mark gets shot by those bandits and they keep yelling, I think I was like struggling to move and I kept just listening to them and they're just like, we made a deal, we had a deal, the whole thing. That's when my like suspicion also jumped off. I'm like, they had a deal. Okay, they don't know who I am, but I'm working on the farm, so they had a deal with the farm. So why are the bandits dealing with the farm and how come they didn't mention anything? So it added that dynamic. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, there's so much content because like that's just them yelling, we made a deal, but there's layers to that. Like, do you deal with who? With the two guys? The mom? What's going on? Like, we need more info, and it keeps you more suspicious.
Yeah, and just a quick thing. What I love about this series of podcasts is that, you know, both Cam and I have played this series and this episode probably to death, at least in my case. I played it, I think this is the third time I've played it. But Mo, like, you're coming in fresh, so you're giving us that perspective of like, hey, I kind of think something was going on, but I only really knew when we got to the next scene.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just like how you guys said, like the Southern Belle, the mom kind of calmed the tensions. Everyone came over, and then Mark got shot, but it was the commentary that kind of gave me more suspicion, more so than being attacked. Because if there's bandits, they're gonna shoot you regardless, but they're communicating as if they know who we are, and that's the little like exclamation mark, like in Metal Gear Solid, like something's happening.
In a past life, was Brenda a pageant queen? That's what I need to know.
Oh, how do you see that? Why would you say that?
I just picture, you know, when she was 20 years younger, that she was Miss Macon, Georgia, or something like that. That is just in my brain the picture that I have. And I'm probably a sick puppy, and that's why I think of that, but that's where we're at.
Maybe.
So you go back to the St. John's Dairy Farm after you've dealt with Jolene, and you kind of start doing more chores. You start exploring around, and, you know, pick up a multi-tool, talk to Duck, Clementine, Katja, and not much happens here. But I think, at least in my case, my suspicion started to climb, because there's an area of the farm that the brothers are very adamant that you are not allowed to explore. They're essentially like, hey, this home is your home, except for this room. Don't ever go in this room or else.
Yeah, and I think also a part of it is like they keep talking about there's food, but there's one like cow, and I think it's sick, and there's no other like. So it's like,
no, she's pregnant. She's pregnant.
Oh, she's pregnant. Okay.
Yeah. So she's like cat delivers a baby.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
But there was also that suspicion, like, where's all this, like, operation, like, coming from? And then there's that big door that no one's allowed to, and they like, change their tone when they talk to you about it, too. They're like, don't go in there, fella. Nothing in there but old tools, or something along those lines. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Respect. Like, no one needs to go inside someone's property, but at the same time, it's like, what's going on? There's bandits who say there's a deal, there's food everywhere, but we can't see it. What's going on?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think they explain it. They give like a reasonable reason as to why, like, oh, this is where we cut the meats and things like that. It's real bloody. We don't want to, you know, and Brenda doesn't like it. Like, okay, that's reasonable. Like, that makes sense. But, like, why the lock? Like, you can say, like, hey, don't go in here without, like, straight up locking up a place.
It's definitely just another mystery thing they add, and with everything that's happened, maybe if they were, like, just, like, if none of that craziness happened, and we just assumed they're just, like, good hospitality, they're just, like, don't go back there, it's like, okay, fair enough, you guys are taking care of us. Like, I don't even need to go back there. It might be locked, that's fine, too. It wouldn't be a conversation if there wasn't those other elements floating around this farm and the way everyone's acting.
Yeah, Mo, I need to ask you, when you figure out what's in there, you know, it's a series of events that, you know, you interact with the, I think it's like the electrical generator to distract the brothers that allow you to remove the screws off the lock to get in. I need to know what you thought was behind there. Like, when you were going to open the door, what did you think was back there? Because both Cam and I knew.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think it was?
Yeah. Because, I mean,
okay,
so I will say, like, first time I played through it, even if you, like, asked me in the situation, like, what do you think it was? I would have been like, bro, no idea. Like, absolutely no idea what it is. Like, you know, even though they have that excuse, which kind of ties into what the actual, you know, reveal is, I thought that was just, like, some BS excuse. Like, or, like, you know, or that, like, it wouldn't be something similar to the actual reveal itself. So for me, I was just like, I have no idea what this could be. And like, just that slow part where Lee's opening the door and it's, you know, facing towards Lee just to, like, see his reaction was just so climactic.
Yeah, I think so. Jacob, I had a sense like that they were eating people. Like
What?
I think before this.
What?
Yeah.
Did you?
How?
Here's why.
How?
Here's why. Here's why.
I call BS.
Okay, I'll give you a reasonable so obviously not as direct. I actually thought it would be more gruesome than the actual reveal of that like meat locker. Have you ever been in like a commercial like freezer like for like cows and like sheep when they're like stored or whatever? I thought there's going to be people like zombies or something hanging from there, and I thought, sorry to clarify, I thought they were eating zombies and making them food.
Okay.
And that's why they didn't want, and it could have been mixed with people, but at the same time I knew they're eating not like good things, and that's what was behind there, just from the way they're acting and how they keep talking about food, and we have a lot of food we're getting to kind of taken care of. Also, I played this a month ago in 2020, so I've seen all of the situations where there's lockers and things that are behind it and people are being weird. I think in the Wolf Among Us there might have been maybe it was a Wolf Among Us or a different game where you're like in a freezer or a fridge and they don't want you to go in there, and then you go in there and it's like, oh, they're eating people. There's always like that weird, and it's The Walking Dead, so I knew anything was possible. So that's where I was.
Yeah, I had literally no clue the first time I played that. Again, we are now entering like real spoiler territory about the cool part of this game, or at least this episode. But no idea that, one, the equipment they had, but two, the thing that came next is likely one of the most shocking things I've ever experienced in video games.
Yeah,
and I will say one thing that like I can see why you had that thought, like, you know, a potential theory, Mo, is that The Walking Dead was like the first. The Walking Dead is what made Telltale what Telltale was. It was the first game, so like The Wolf Among Us came out like after season 1. So, like, you know, when you kind of have already experienced some of what Telltale can do, and, like, that specific example that you made, then, yeah, I can see it. But, like, if this was, like, your first Telltale game, and you played it at the time, like, because I played it, like, at the time of it coming out, that was, like, insane.
Yeah, and to just remind people, because I'm not sure if in the episode 1 I mentioned, but I watched, like, in the TV series, which I know is not a direct like comparison, I think I watched up to like the 3rd or 4th season, so I kind of saw like the Walking Dead, I guess, what could happen. So you're right, if I was coming in fresh, I would have been just like totally not. But then there's always so many movies where those like I feel like I've seen that situation before, where someone's hosting you, they're trying to feed you, but they never want to tell you what they're feeding you, and then like at the end, that was my initial gut reaction, but I didn't expect it to be like they're just gonna. Should we get into it? When we get into the house?
Yeah, why don't you set the table, and tell us about dinner?
Yeah, so the whole time everyone's starving. Everyone's asking, when's the food coming? When's the food coming? They keep telling you, oh, it's coming soon. We're just cooking it. Don't you worry. Don't you fret. And then eventually, you're walking in the house and you see Mark, I think dead and like chopped up.
No, I think you have done a terrible disservice to this. Like,
sorry, I played this a month ago. You go ahead.
You hear, I will never forget it. Like I said, one of the most shocking reveals in video games. You hear like footsteps or things going on upstairs, and immediately you're like, that's weird. I'm going to just like go and check out what's going on upstairs.
Yeah,
so you look around, and there's nothing that you can immediately see, but there's a bookcase, I believe. And on the bookcase, there's like a light that you can see like through the cracks, and essentially what you have to do as Lee is figure out like, oh, this is a door to a secret room in this house, and behind the door is that exact reveal that you had, Mo, of, oh, it's Mark, and Mark is missing a third of his body.
Yeah.
I think, oh god, I was just like, what the f*** oh my god. So I legitimately was just like, oh my god. And I, like, the way that it felt like Lee moving to go downstairs to yell and tell people not to, that was literally what I was feeling. I was actually feeling that as a person, like, come on, no, we gotta tell Clementine about the food.
And that's actually what he does too. He's like running down, and slower, the time slows down, the screen like gets a little weird and like grayed out.
It kind of warps,
not grayed out,
like it warps
tunnel
into
vision.
the center. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh my, I have to run back downstairs and because their food's plated. It looks great. It's like roasted meats and like breads and things like a nice like meal you'd expect in a southern home kind of thing.
It was the one thing that I think I was surprised about was Lee's immediate thought of like, not I'm going to tell the group that Mark is murdered. Oh no, I need to tell Clementine not to eat the people. Like to me, that was a little strange of like, I don't know how you feel, but I would probably just go downstairs and scream like, we're eating Mark, not like, Clementine, don't eat the people.
Don't you get the option to like say a couple of things? One of them is like, you're eating a person or don't eat the food or whatever it was. I think you get to choose. Like,
you have
can
a
you be
couple
direct?
instances to choose.
Yeah, I can't remember what I picked, but I feel like I wanted to be direct. That way everyone understood, put forks down. Because if I said, don't eat the food, someone would be like, no, I'm starving. But if you said, hey, that's Mark's meat, like then that person would be like, okay, they have to pause. And then if they're that hungry, maybe, but they might be sickos. Who knows?
Mark's meat.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I do want to mention, like, so I don't want to mention, like, he isn't dead. He's just, like, in agonizing pain in the middle of the floor. He's still alive because he's the one who says like, don't eat dinner.
Eat the food.
So.
And the not the best part, but like the wildest part is at one point you hear something tumble down the stairs, and it's Mark like crawling into the dining room, and he just like passes out in the middle of the dining room, and that's when like the brothers just hit you with the butt of their rifle and knock you out and put you in a meat locker where you go right from one bad situation to another.
Well, yeah, so something should be mentioned is like, depending on what you say, depends on who does or doesn't eat the meat at the table when you go down the stairs. Like there's one thing that you can say that like, everyone still eats, which specifically your goal is to have Clementine not eat, but then there's something where you tell like Clementine not to eat, and then I think there's another option where like everyone doesn't eat, and it's funny too because like for me I was just like, I told Clementine not to eat, but then like because just knowing Duck's character, it fits. He just doesn't Lee's explaining all this, and like Duck doesn't give a fuck. He's just eating this meat, and he's just like, oh yeah, it's dinner time. Like he just does not care.
Duck is not a smart child.
No, he is not.
He's a hungry boy. Leave him alone.
Well, you know what goes in. You know where the meat goes? In the meat locker. And that's where y'all end up when the brothers decide to throw y'all essentially in jail. And like I said, you go from one fire to another because like you have to get out of here. Like these guys are going to kill you. They're going to eat you as meat. You're going to be their meals for the next year because especially, Big Larry, he is quite a snack, racist snack. But things with him get real bad real soon.
Yep. Is this when we find out that it's not a bite that turns you? It's all in the air, and anyone who dies becomes a walker kind of thing.
So
this is the point.
Yeah, so that was realized when the teacher turned.
Gotcha. So that was one. I think
Ben explains it to the group, like, "Oh, you don't know? Like, it doesn't. It's not the bite that does it. It's if you're bitten or if you die. Like, that's what causes it.
That's all. It's like everyone's fate. Like you're all gonna become one. Just if you're about to die, you have to like get your head removed or whatever it might be to.
Yeah, it's like you have to stop, and it's like a classic Walking Dead thing is like you have to kill the brain or else like you will turn. It doesn't matter, and it's perfect timing that you bring that up because Larry is just yelling at Lee as he tends to, just being a terrible, terrible racist man that does not deserve to live. And hey, guess what? He has a heart attack. And that's when you're given another very tough choice.
One of the hardest choices in the game, to be honest. One of the entire.
You think this is the easiest?
No. I think it's one of the hardest choices in the game. Like, because granted, like Larry's a terrible human being, but he's still a person, and he's technically not dead.
Yeah,
and I think what makes this part so powerful is specifically if you try to save Larry, because you really don't know what the outcome would have been.
Is there a situation where Larry lives in this moment?
He dies no matter what.
Okay, my initial gut was like, I didn't want his daughter to like walk out and not be part of the group kind of thing, because yeah, she's harsh, but she seems like a pretty good like leader, like she's willing to make the hard decisions when no one wants to kind of thing. So part of me was like, is this gonna alienate her kind of thing? That was my weirdness, but I eventually went for it. I'm like, we don't need a big strong guy to come back to life and take us all out. That's the last thing.
There are 3 images in my mind with this episode that I will never forget. One of them is Mark like coming down the stairs. The second is what one of the 2 options of Larry being killed is. I took the option in this case where I helped kill Larry and I wasn't like resistant to it. But I know that if you're resistant to it, it is gruesome, because imagine like you're over top of Larry and you're watching Lily give CPR. At one point, you're just giving CPR, there's a conversation happening, and a salt lick just gets dropped on his head, and everything just stops. Because you're in utter disbelief that you're having a conversation, you're trying to revive him, and Kenny just chucks a salt lick right at his head.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure like the situation is so intense that like you don't really hear what's being said. You just hear like murmur, 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 like that type of thing.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think I didn't resist. That was my choice. So I think it says 49% of players helped kill Larry. So I think I helped him. I guess I helped Kenny take him out, because the comment they made, and from the episode 1, there was a situation when I think we punched Larry in the face and he just takes it like a champ and drops everyone. So I'm like, that's like healthy big Larry. Imagine like Walker Super Larry. This is like a final boss kind of Walker we're preparing for. So it's like, this is the chance to either put him at rest or we might have a bigger problem. We're all gone.
Mo, I did the same thing as you, but I remembered doing the other choice in my other playthroughs because it was such like a memorable moment in the worst possible ways. And the worst part is you have to dig through his pockets to get out of there.
Yeah, that was kind of, I guess, like, you gotta do what you gotta do.
He's not even like cold.
Yeah, but what else are you gonna do? Like, you have to get out of there now, and there's a possible route in the AC unit. And I think the objective is like a little mini thing to find a way to unscrew the AC unit so you can possibly walk out in the ducts. That's, I think, the main game plan.
Yeah, and this is the point where like you come now to the conclusion, which, like, I will say, playing The Walking Dead episode 2 around Halloween, I think is a great choice, largely because of this next scene and how it's set up. Imagine, like, it's nighttime, the music swells, and you are essentially forced to murder to escape. And so the first big decision you have to make is, great, I'm going to come out of here, arm myself with either a hay hook, a sickle, or a cattle prod, and kill or not kill the brothers in order to escape. Do you guys remember what you did? Because I could continue and tell you what I did.
I remember I was punching a guy nonstop, but I don't think I killed both of them. Based off of my results, it says you and 61% of players didn't kill both brothers. I think I just like.
So you spared.
Them and left. I can't remember.
You spared Danny, and then you wait. So yeah, you can do 1, 2, or both, or like 0, 1, or 2. You can spare Danny by not, impaling him with a pitchfork, and then when you beat the shit out of Andy, he basically says, like, when you're walking away, to finish him off, and you can choose to or not to, and if you do, you kick him into the fence, and he gets electrocuted.
Yeah. I don't think I killed either of them. I think I just like beat him up, and I'm almost certain I didn't put the pitchfork in, because in order to like refresh my memory before this call, I watched a click like recap kind of thing, and you see like different people's playthroughs, obviously, because they don't have like certain characters, and I'm like, I don't remember that stab in the chest. And I remember when I beat him up, I didn't kill him. I for sure didn't, but yeah, that's what it says. You didn't kill both. Oh, okay. Sorry, it says you and 61 of players didn't kill both brothers. So I didn't kill any of them. They both stayed alive.
I killed them both.
Of course. We didn't even need to ask you, Jacob. We know.
Yeah,
We know
I channeled my inner big bad wolf again, and whoops, there goes both brothers. But like you said, Mo, it's like you impale Danny with a, I think it's, no, sorry. You impale Danny with a pitchfork, and you beat Andy up, like in true, like, fighting game murdery fashion, just like beat him to within an inch of his life.
I don't want to be the Game of Thrones guy that says, hey, did you see this part in Game of Thrones? But it's very equivalent to when Jon Snow is beating up the Ramsay kid because he's just like a terrible person, and it's just nonstop punching him in the face, seeing it all like continuously. It's very, very like necessary for like the circumstances. But a part of me, just like the reason why I chose to not kill both of them was like the group's been through so much intense like stimulation with like deaths and murders and people close to them. I'm like, let's just move on. Like let's walk away from this, leave it alone. Like there's no need to continue, kind of thing.
So we talked about Danny, we talked about Andy, but the one person we haven't talked about is our Southern Belle, Brenda, who also is in the mix. And I said I remember three things about this episode. The first, the second I've already been through, but the third thing is you're walking up to the house and there's a screen door and you can see inside, and inside there are two shadowy figures and stairs. And as you open the door, you realize, and this scared the crap out of me even as like a 20-year-old man the first time I played it, but Brenda is holding Katja hostage.
Yeah.
And it is so good.
Yeah, that scene is so well directed. It's so good, and there's so many times you can die in that scene. So good.
Yeah, I think like hopefully some of the listeners have played this episode of The Walking Dead before listening, but like I loved it. And the reason why it's tricky is because like you have to press forward, but you can't come too close or else Brenda will shoot you. And the reason why you're pressing forward is you're trying to back her up the staircase. And is it Mark that's up there that kind of grabs her and takes her out?
Yeah, so Mark is turned and grabs her by the head and bites her.
Yeah, and was it storming or not, or did my brain create that?
Storming.
No, it was storming too.
And the light revealed Mark as it was coming, so it was like it was a lightning strike, and then all of a sudden you saw Mark, and like, oh my gosh, okay, keep moving back, Brenda, keep
moving back.
You're doing great. I actually died once because I just wanted to get her up there, and then she shot me, and I had to redo that little portion.
Yeah, I got shot the first time because I moved when she said don't move and pointed the gun at me. So, and apparently if you say anything aggressive towards her in that scene, she will shoot you. She'll just straight up shoot you. So you can die 4 or 5 times in that moment.
Or do what I did and die about 12 times. No joke, like if you move too fast, if you move too slow, if you say anything wrong, you are being shot. And I've played this is the third time I've played this, no joke, 12 times.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. I didn't die that many times, but
Yeah, 12 times. One cool part that I want to mention before we head into where this episode ends is I know this because I've played it multiple times. You will see Brenda as a walker if you as you move away from the house, which I think was just like a chef's kiss, beautiful touch on this incredible scene. Do we want to walk through and just stay where this episode ends? I don't understand why they didn't end it there.
Yeah, okay.
I really don't.
It seemed the whole episode has so much content. It's like it could have been mini the series is in itself kind of thing. So it's true.
I feel like with specifically the car scene, because this episode, for numerous reasons, is super important going on. That's the thing that's so great about this episode. It's great as a one thing story, but there's so many things that they add into it, things that you probably won't add together until it actually happens later on, that is foreshadows or is something that comes back in like the later episodes in really cool
Gotcha.
ways. So that's why I think episode 2 is super super good. So basically after, and I think the reason why they didn't end there is because like I think they wanted, because the beginning of the episode starts like crazy, so I think they wanted to end it on a more like oblique note than just like, oh, all this crazy stuff is over, now we're done, you know, and also just give something to tease into the next episode. So
I can definitely see that. It's almost as if like they set it up where they'll have the whole story and they'll finish it, and then this is like the primer for you to go to the next one. Because the way the game is set up, like once you're done this, you got to select the next episode. So it's like teasing you to say, okay, you played this. Hopefully it was good, but if it wasn't, here's what's coming up next. Like potentially, kind of.
I was in shock, and I don't know why I didn't steal from the car, because that's what my big bad wolf self should have done. But I didn't steal from the car, and I think it was just like I wasn't really thinking. I should have stolen from the car because that's what my character should do.
I think it was Clementine that might have guilted you, because she was very like, that's not yours, you shouldn't take it kind of thing, and you have that option. I stole it because like, yes, you shouldn't steal it, but we are not in the society we're in before. We have no food. Yes, it's not the right thing, but there's no one here. There's no, like, why would you leave food? Imagine you being in a group where food's scarce. The only reason you would ditch a vehicle with gas potentially, with food and things in it, is if either you're dead, you became a walker, or you had to get out of there and there's no chance of maybe coming back. And if you do, that's great, but yeah, I wouldn't expect you to expect your stuff to be there. Like, it's kind of like that weird dynamic of we're in survival. There's this thing could save this little community we have together with all of us. We're not about like, it's not even stealing. This has been presented to us to like help us move on. Like, if someone shows up and makes a big fuss, you can even explain like, yo, sorry, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, I also ended up giving taking the stuff. I think the first time I didn't, second time I did, and then this time I did as well. And I feel like that this moment out of like the entirety of the game is like the most like sad I felt as the player, because of how disappointed Clementine was in me. Because she's just like a naturally good-hearted person that, you know, while she is, it's like one of those things, like, it's not even that she's young, she's just good, and she just wants to do right by people. And so it was, you know, it was really sad when I was just like, when I like gave her the hoodie and she's just like, but it's not mine, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, and like it just like explaining to her like that things are different now and we don't know, like I'm just saying that I don't know what right-minded person in a zombie apocalypse would leave their car alone where anyone could grab all of their supplies. That just doesn't make sense to me. So, in my headspace, if that was just me personally, I would be like, yeah, let's take this stuff. This person's dead. Like, this person's gone. Because
100%.
Because you're not going to leave a supplied full vehicle, like, even if it's on empty. Like, I don't care that it's on empty. You're not going to leave all the supplies there for anyone like to come up and take that stuff while you're gone.
Yeah, it's almost like a moral question if you were in that situation. Like, it's like, what's ethical? Are you taking it or are you not? It depends. Like, it's always that situation of like, what if a mother doesn't have money to feed her kids and she steals a loaf of bread? Is she unethical? There's always that argument. Well, she has no money, she has no food. Well, it's a kid, needs food, or they're going to starve to death, whatever the situation may be. Whereas in this situation, like the whole ethical question of, do you steal stuff from someone's car? You'd never do that. You'd never in any like conceivable scenario do it, unless you're playing this video game where it's a post-apocalyptic zombie where you need food to like make it to the next day kind of thing. And that's the thing you haven't been able to get. And the last thing you ate was Mark's leg, probably.
And I think another reason why sorry.
Too soon?
Sorry.
Too soon? Sorry.
I was gonna say
no, I was just awing at Mark's leg.
I do think another reason why I just thought about this now, like why episode ends the way it does is because like the entire theme about this episode is just like, for them, it's just like getting food. So it's just like, the beginning they're like hunting, looking for food, and at the end is like this choice of like, okay, here's food. You gonna take it or are you not gonna take it? And kind of like what Mo said with that morality question, it's just like all focused on like them trying to survive, not starve themselves, and so I thought that was a really good way to end the episode from like, that perspective.
Yeah, very, very little filler in this episode. I guess I've come around on it a little bit. I guess I was like, hey, this ended in a really high place. Like, maybe we didn't need the end, but having you guys frame it that way makes a lot of sense. And that's why we do this. We change our opinions on the episode and the content within them. Gentlemen, I think that's the entire episode 2. It was quite the doozy. I appreciate y'all coming on the ride with us. Cam, especially, back for the second time. If folks want to find your work, where is the best place they can do that?
Yeah, you can find my work at DualShockers.com. You can follow DualShockers on Twitter at DualShockers. You can follow me at the Cinephile Guy. Actually, when this comes out, it'll be different.
Ooh, we get to know.
So you get the first.
Give us both.
You get the first scoop. You're the first two people outside of Celia, my fiance. You're the first 2 people to know my new social handle. So this is an exclusive.
It is under Friendier.
So you'll be able to follow me at Cam Final Mix.
Oh, cool.
That's very good.
On Twitter and at Cam Final Mix on Twitch.
Amazing. If you want to find all things Left Behind Game Club, you can do so on our website at Left Behind Game Club, on our Twitter at Left Behind Club, and on our Instagram at Left Behind Game Club. If you want to come and talk about video games with a great community of people, you can do so in our Discord. Mo, I think it's set up now. You can go to leftbehindgame.club/Discord, and you'll be able to jump right into our Discord server. There's 100 people in there chatting about games. It's a great place to be. And the last thing I just want to say is, if you liked this show, one, make sure you follow Cam. But second, make sure that you also throw us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. Those reviews matter. And if you let us know that you submitted that review, we will read it on the show. So again, obviously follow Cam, but also give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. You can find me on the internet at Jacob McCourt on all major social media platforms. I make YouTube videos at youtube.com/Jacob McCourt. I make TikToks about Pokemon cards at tiktok.com/@Jacob McCourt. And I have another podcast as well. It's called Cutscenes. We are launching season 2 in the beginning of 2021, so stay tuned for that. Mo, where can folks find you?
You can find me primarily in our Discord server. That's usually where I do most of my chatting, but I'm also on all those major social media platforms at Mmertati. I'm also streaming at Twitch under the username Shenron the Dragon. That's the common spelling of the Dragon Ball Z character, for those that don't know.
You got that as your Twitch name?
Yup.
That is so cool, dude.
Dude, that's my League of Legends handle. That's my Twitch name. That's a lot of handles I have Shenron the Dragon. Yeah, I'm OG. I've been there.
I was like, how did no one take this before you?
Day one. I'm day one.
Because I was going to say, I was just like, I have the amount of, because I've been wanting to change my social handle for a minute now. Like months. I've been wanting to change it. And I was just like, I want to find something that's like, has my name in it, and something that fits my brand, So I was like, honestly, I just want I Am Cam. Like, how cool would that be? I Am Cam.
Yep.
But like, it's owned by some private Japanese account with like 50-something followers, and I'm like, come on. I literally spent the time to Google Translate and message them. I will pay you for your handle. I will pay you money for that handle, and just no response, and I'm just like. So yeah, no, I literally thought about it 2 days ago. Cam Final Mix, because like Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, I really like.
It's perfect.
I love it so much. I was so happy when I thought of it. I was like,
that's good.
I was literally just like thinking of like, oh man, like I just kept on like typing in things like, is this available? No, it's not. I was like, Cam Final Mix, and it was taking. I was like, Twitch, is it available? Yes. Oh my god, this is it. So that was this little background to that. So,
Mo, why don't you take us home this time? What do we always say to him?
And that, my friends, is one less episode left behind.